We are going to be looking at these topics. They are 8 in number. That is, we have variables, primitive values, operators, arrays, objects, logic, loop, functions. I believe that these are the 8 basic topics of JavaScript. If you are able to understand these 8 topics, you would have done yourself good by understanding up to, like, let's say 70% or 75% of what JavaScript is all about. Okay, so we have what we call variables. What is variable? A variable is like a container to keep a data or to keep a value. We have 3 ways of declaring a variable in JavaScript. We have that of const. I can say const s, and that is const is a statement, a variable statement, and s is my variable name. Okay, so we also have that of what we call let. I can say let d. So then I can say var school. So var is a variable statement. That's how to declare a variable, and school is the variable name. In JavaScript, you can use an ordinary number as a variable name, and you cannot start a variable name with a number. You can start with underscore, or you use the $sign. They are all allowed, but you can also do something like, okay, maybe A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So this can be a variable name. So that's a variable for you. Now let's go to primitive values. Primitive values actually inbuilt data in JavaScript. We have okay, so let me present this to you so that we can have a quick understanding of what primitive values is all about. We have what we call name. If you are given a form to fill, you have to supply your name, the age you were born, are you married, how many children do you have, then your signature. Now, after you must have supplied the answers, if you are told that, okay, the computer is going to interpret what you have supplied, how are we going to go about that? So let's take, for example, we have one called, I want to use let my name. Let's say my name is equal to, let's call it Joe. Okay, so let's say my age is 21. Okay, so and in JavaScript, any expression must be ended with a semicolon. That's why you have it here. Okay, the next question will be, okay, so now this that you have here is a string. So the name that you are going to supply here is going to be a string. And in JavaScript, anything that is inside a double quote like this is a double quote, or a single quote is a string. Then number is just number. Then anything, even if it's a number, if it's inside a quote, is a string. So all the characters on your keyboard in a string, in a quote, they are referred to as string. Then we have the next one. So the next age is what? A number. Then married. So it's more like you are being asked, are you married? You now said, yeah, now the answer is no. Let's say you are saying no. Now JavaScript or programming in general does not understand yes or no. So it is true or false. So this would rather be false. And this is a Boolean. So we have 2 Boolean values. We have false, we have true. So that's Boolean for you. Then the next one will be children, the number of children. So now if you put 0 here as your answer, it means you are married, but you don't have children, or you don't have a child rather. So in that case, the best answer would be nil, that you don't want to leave that place blank. So you now put nil. So JavaScript will say null, empty value. You don't want to leave it without assigning a value to it, so you can put what we call null. Now let's say for signature, you actually forgot to put your signature, and that's all. So now if I call my name here now, I'm going to have Joe, and that's a string. There is a particular something I can use to check. That is, if I say type of my name, that is a string. If I say type of marriage, you're getting a Boolean. So now signature, what is signature? Let's call signature. So we are getting undefined. So that tells us that we have 5 + 1 primitive values in JavaScript. We have string, we have numbers, we have boolean, we have knowledge. So now after this, let's go to properties. We have some properties of what we call string. So if I say my name dot length, and this I want to get the length of this string. So if you count it now, this is 1, 2, 3. Yes, but actually in JavaScript, the length is the last index plus 1. So this string is actually indexed. I can do something like my name, then I can put something like a square bracket, and I put 0. If I put 0, it's going to give me the first letter of this string, the first character of this. That is J. So that is that. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So that is how it is. And then let me repeat that. If I put 2, it's going to give me, if I repeat that, if I put something like 3, it's going to give me undefined. So now that is the length. And then we have what we call methods. We have methods in JavaScript. So I can do something like my name dot to uppercase, to uppercase. So it's going to return everything in capital letters. So that is Joe. And then we have other methods like we have character, that is cahat. We have index of, if you want to get the index of a particular something. Let me quickly demonstrate something like that. That is index of, if I say index of O, so it's going to give me 1. Yeah. If it's not found, it's going to be, let's say I'm putting y, is going to be -1. Then also we have what we call split. That is, if you want to split something, you try to look for something that you can use to split. In this case now, you see this is @yahoo.com, splitting along this sign, and that's what you have as your result. We have slice, and that brings us to the end of string. Now for numbers, for numbers, let me quickly, so this is written.com. You can actually go to the site and see some of the articles written here. You actually understand a lot of things here. Okay, let me click on primitive values, and you can also subscribe to, you can also post articles. It's a very nice site, article publishing site, to share ideas and also read other people's ideas. So we have numbers. So we have 2 types in JavaScript. We have integer, we have float. Integer, you know what's called integer. Float is, you know, like in a decimal number. So these are the types of numbers that we have, and then the rest. So I believe you understand about numbers. If I want to declare my number, I can just say num is equal to maybe 89. So if I say num, it's going to give me a number. Sorry. So it's going to give me 89. Yeah. So then if I want to convert a number to a string, this is how to go about that. Exponential and co. So you can take time to read some of these things, and then you'll be okay. If I want to do to a decimal number, maybe to fixed, and then I put something like 3. So it's going to take it to 3 decimal. So we have also Boolean as a value, and then we have what we call null and undefined. So if you don't assign anything to a particular variable or a parameter in a function, you're going to get undefined. So we are done with primitive values. Let's quickly look at what we call operators. Operators in JavaScript, we have what we call the equal sign that I used when I was talking about a variable is known as an assignment operator. We have folders like this and some other things like that. Then we have what we call comparison operator. I can say less than, I can say greater than, I can say greater than, equal to, and then we have some logical operators like not, like or that is double pipe, or like the ampersand, the and. So that's logical operators. We have some other, we have even the string operators like type of that I used the other time, and then some other ones. So we can sit down and learn some of these things. So the next one we're moving to is now array. Now for array, if I'm in a house and I'm to list the things that are in that house, the question will be, am I going to be declaring variables on that? Okay, I'm going to say, okay, fridge. Okay, we have fridge. We have a table there. We have a television there. So what we can simply do is we can put it in an array, more like a plate, a collection. So let's say things in the house. So my array, I open my brackets, square brackets, then I can say fridge. then I can say, so you can see this is a string. Yes, then I can say a table. Okay, so if I say things now in the house, I'm going to get my array. Now for the array, you can also still get the length of the array, which is 3 in number. So the array also, I can try to add more by just putting what we call push. It's a method in JavaScript to add an element to it. So the element is going to be queued at the back of the last element. The only element of this array is table. So if maybe I'm adding what we call chair to it, okay, so that's what we have. And that gives us the fourth item, or let me say yes. So it's also indexed. That is 0 indexed. Yes, if I say something like this, let me say, okay, if I say something like 2, it's going to give me table. So this 0, 1, 2. And also, if you want to add something to the beginning of this array, so you have to do something called on shift. So, and that's, if I just say, okay, I want to put something called what we call, let me say, gas cooker. So then, so if I now try to get things in the house, so you can see, if I want to remove an item from the collection, I can use pop. So pop we remove from the back. So let me try and get what is here. You can see the answer here. And then if I want to remove from the front, that is the first item, I can use shift, and that will give me this. Okay, so that's all about array. Now in a situation, so we also have some other things. We have delete. We also have some other methods like find, filter, and some other ones. Like those are the higher order functions that you can also always read about. We have filter, we have find, and the rest. So let's quickly go to objects. So if I say something like let's this is my items, I can just simply say. So now the question is not like, okay, if you are not asked to document in details what is in the house, how many fridge do you have, how many tables, how many televisions and the rest. So what can we do? We can just say, okay, fridge, let's say that is 1. That's that. So this, to declare an object literal in JavaScript, you use a curly bracket. So we have what called television. So, and let's say that is 2. And then let's say we have how many tables? We have like, let's say we have like 5 tables. Okay, that's all. So if I say my items here now, it's going to give me this fridge 1, television 2. So, and if I want to get a particular value, that's value for fridge, I'm just going to say my item.fridge. And also I can also call it this way with a curly bracket, with a square bracket rather, and that is fridge, and that will give me this one. And then also if I want to add to it, I can easily just say chair. Let's say I'm adding chair to it, and that is okay, sorry, yes, chair. That's, let's say we have 3 chairs, so that is chair. So if I'm my item again, so my items, that's it. So you can also add through that this same method of square bracket. What you want to add, and put it gas cooker. So if you are putting these two like this, if you are putting 2 something like this, so so you can just say gas cooker, and it's going to be 4. So if I say item now, okay. So actually, if you are, because you know this one now, if you want to get it now, you can use, so you cannot say dot gas cooker. So even the way this gas cooker is declared is actually wrong. So it's actually, so this is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, because if you are declaring, you can say something like gas cooker, like hammer case, like this, or better still, you use something like this. But if you are declaring directly, it's supposed to be something like, so if you are declaring, you have to put quotes like this. If you are declaring directly in an object, so you have to be like gas cooker, like this. So that's like this. So the other things about this is for object is what we have looked at. There are some other things about object create, object assign, some of the things like that can be read up by you guys. Now we have the next one to be logic. So what do we talk when we talk about logic? What do we mean? We're talking about if I can say if this is true, do this. If it is not true, you do that. So that's what if is about. So we have if, else, else if, we have switch. Those are the is it 3 or 4 conditionals that we have in JavaScript. But we're not going to do much on all those. So just going to look at if else. So if else now, if I say if, so let's say I declare a variable to be const x is equal to 3. So if I say if x is equal to 3, then do this. So there's something that to log to the console, you can say console.log. That's how to log something to the screen in JavaScript. You can just say okay, let's put okay like this. Can you see okay is fired? But if I say if x is equal to 5, nothing is fired, nothing happens. So this block does not run. So if statement, and when this expression returns true, this block will fire. But meanwhile, if it's 5 and nothing happens, when I want something to happen, we can just say console.log, and let me just put 9000. So now, because this x is not 5, x is actually 3, this is not going to run, this is going to run instead. So that is that. So else if means that, okay, if this thing happens and you want to say, okay, else if, okay, let me bring in else if, that's not difficult at all. That's if, and I can now say if x is equal to 3 now. So you can also console, so can you see U is fired? This after else. So the first thing is like when the JavaScript compiler or the JavaScript engine is actually reading the code, it gets to this place, it says, is this true? Say no. Is this true? Say yes, and runs the code, and that's all. So that is about logic. Let's quickly go to loop. So loop means that loop is telling you that I will continue to do this thing until this thing turns to false. You know, if statement is just going to run once, and that's all. But for loop will continue. It will continue. It's a loop. It continues until false is achieved, and then it terminates. So what we want to do now is that we have different ones. We have while loop, we have for loop, we have do while loop in JavaScript. For loop and while loop are actually the same, but the syntax are actually different, and then they are slightly different in the way they run around at some times. So we just want to look at for loop alone. I can say for, so let I be equal to 0. So I can say I less than 10. 10 you grab. So then I want to say I plus plus. So this is going to generate from 0 to 1 to 9. So I can now say console.log, and that will be I. So 0 to 9. So that's it. If you want to actually count from 1 to 10, then I'll put 1 here, and I'll say less than or equal to 10. So this gives me 10. So that is loop for you. So how does loop works? It's going to come and say, is this the initialization stage? So this is the initialization code. Then it says, 0 less than 10. It says yes. If it is yes, then it runs this code. And after running this code, it increases the I. So I is now 1. Then you now continue to check. Is 1 less than 10? Say yes. Then you will log again 1. And until it gets to 10, you now say, is 10 less than 10? Say no, then it will terminate. So that is a loop for you. So the last thing we will now want to consider, let's see if we are still on track. That is loop function. Is now let's take, for example, that we want to. So now your loop is actually, your function is actually like a code wrapper. You know, all what we have been writing since, we've been writing them such that the moment we drop or we press enter without the shift button, the code runs immediately. So it's not like we are writing code to keep somewhere, and when we need it, we use it. So that's the essence of a function. So an example of a simple function would be, this is a function statement. To write a function, just declare your function like this. I can just say function output. So let's just say output, and then, so what we just want to do is, I just want to say console. Just want to put welcome. So now nothing is fine until I call that function. That function is output, and when you are calling it, you put a bracket in front, then gives you your string welcome. So that's it. So now for a function too can accept an argument. So let's say a function, let's try and explain this for output. Output now is anything I put here is going to, so let me just put it as string, str. So anything I put here will be logged to the console. So log str. Yeah. So if I now say something like output, and I put something like, okay, like I say, good, then I'm going to have good. If I put something like yes, that's what I'm going to, so it's giving me what's supply. So this is actually an argument. And then, you know, in the function, you're actually providing an argument. And then after doing that, is this, then you are supplying a parameter to it. So though people interchangeably use parameters and argument, so that's just how it is in JavaScript. Then also I can, okay, for an example, now I can say function add. Then I want to add two numbers together. I can say number 1 like this, number 2 like this. So what I want to do now is I want to just say console.log plus number 2. So now if I now say add, if I say add 3,6, it's going to give me 9. So that is just how it is. Now, finally, let's say you have to write an algorithm to output even numbers between 0 or 1 and 10, between 1 and 10. So there's a function, just put even number. And so what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is, you know, say for, so we're generating a variable I equal to 0, then I less than what? Than the I less or equal to 10, then I plus plus. Okay, so now what is left is we now need to condition what we are going to log to the console. So we now say if I modulus mod 2 is equal to 0. So this is actually an arithmetic operator. Sorry, I forgot to mention that operator when I was talking about operators. So we have plus sign, we have the subtraction sign, that is minus, we have multiplication, division, we have modulus. So you know, when 2 divides a number and the remainder is 0, it means that number is an even number. But if it has a remainder, it's not an even number. Okay, so that's the principle we're using here. So now, so you understand that this is an expression that we're expecting to return whether true or false. So if this is 2 now, let's say this I is 2 now, 2 modulus 2 is going to give you 0. So that means this expression is going to be true and it's going to fire this code inside this block. So the console.i. So now if I now say even number like this, this means 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this is an algorithm code that I just written. So this brings us to the end of the tutorial. You can actually read more on date object, match object, reject expression, carried on promise. You can also try and know some other concepts like lambda, like closure and co. But once you understand this basic knowledge that has just been passed in this tutorial and you are able to grow on it, you see that you'll be able to understand JavaScript and flow with the language. Thank you. If you are yet to subscribe to this YouTube channel, please do it now. Do it now. Click on that subscribe button. Subscribe now. Let's grow this channel together. And also turn on the notification bell so that when a new video is uploaded, you can get notified. I will see you on the next one. Thank you.